King Arthur is rightful king of all of England. He is based at Camelot with his knights of the Table Most Round. Into King Arthur's court has come a damsel wearing a sword around her neck that can only be removed by a knight that is pure in heart. Arthur tried to remove the sword and failed. Arthur's knight tried to remove the sword and failed. But within Arthur's court there was a man, a prisoner, Sir Balin, whom Arthur thought nothing of until he tried to remove the sword from around the damsel's neck. Removing it easily, Arthur saw that Sir Balin was a knight of true heart. But in that moment of removing the sword, the damsel asked Sir Balin to give the sword back, claiming that if he did not, that sword would bring about Sir Balin's destruction and the death of the man whom he held most dear. Sir Balin, though, is master of his own fate, he claims, and will not return the sword. The meanwhile that Sir Balin was making ready to depart Camelot, there came into the court a lady that was called the Lady of the Lake. And she came on horseback, richly beseen, and saluted King Arthur, and there asked him a gift that he promised her when she gave him the sword. That is sooth, said Arthur, a gift I did promise you, but I have forgotten the name of the sword that you gave me. The name of it, said the lady, is Excalibur, that is as much to say as cut steel. You say well, said the king. Ask what ye will, and ye shall have it, and if it lie in my power to give it, you shall have it. Well, said the lady, I ask the head of the knight that hath won the sword, or else the damsel's head that brought it. I take no force, though I have both their heads, for he slew my brother, a good knight and a true one, and that gentle woman was the causer of my father's death. Truly, said King Arthur, I may not grant neither of their heads with my worship. Therefore ask what ye will otherwise, and I shall fulfil your desire. I will ask none other thing, said the lady. And when Balin was ready to depart, he saw the Lady of the Lake that by her means had slain Balin's mother, and he had sought her 3 years. And when it was told him that she had asked his head of King Arthur, he went to her straight and said, Evil be you found! You would have my head, and therefore ye shall lose yours, and with this sword. Lightly he smote off her head. Alas, for shame, said Arthur. Why have you done so? Ye have shamed me and all my court, for this was a lady that I was beholden to, and hither she came under for my safe comfort. I shall never forgive you that trespass. Sir, said Balin, me seeth your displeasure, but this same lady was the untruest lady living, and by enchantment and sorcery she has been the destroyer of many good knights, and she has caused that my mother was burnt through her falsehood and treachery. What cause soever ye had, said Arthur, you should have forgiven her in my presence. Therefore think not the contrary, ye shall repent it for such another, despite that I never have in my court. Therefore withdraw you out of my court in all haste ye may. Then Balin took up the head of the lady, and bore it with him to his hostelry, and there he met with his squire, that was sorry Balin had displeased King Arthur. And so they rode forth out of the town. Now, said Balin, we must depart. Take thou this head, and bear it to my friends, and tell them how I have sped, and tell my friends in Northumberland that my most foe is dead. Also, tell them how I am out of prison, and what great adventure befell me in the getting of this sword. Alas, said the squire, ye are greatly to blame for displeasure King Arthur. As for that, said Balin, I will take me in all good haste, that I may meet with King Rience, and destroy him, either else to die therefore. And if it may hap me so to win him, then will King Arthur be my good and gracious lord. Where shall I meet with you? Said the squire. In King Arthur's court, said Balin. And so his squire and he departed at that time. Then King Arthur and all the court made great due, and had shame of the death of the Lady of the Lake. And then the king buried her richly. So, the Lady of the Lake is claimed to be an evil enchantress by Sir Balin, who has lopped off her head in one fell swoop, accusing her of the death of his mother. King Arthur, who had the Lady of the Lake as but a guest within his court, was most offended by this, and has banished Balin from his presence. But Balin, the true and noble knight, has taken it upon himself to head towards North Wales and King Rience, Arthur's greatest living enemy. For Balin will do battle with Rience, and by defeating King Rience will at last win back the love of King Arthur and rejoin his court. Chapter 4. How Merlin told the adventure of the damsel. At that time there was a knight, the which was the king's son of Ireland, and his name was Lanceor, the which was an august knight, and he counted himself one of the best of the court, and he had great despite at Balin for the achieving of the sword, that any should be accounted more hardy or more of prowess. And he asked King Arthur if he would give him leave to ride after Balin, and to revenge the despite that he had none. Do your best, said Arthur. I am right wroth with Balin, and I would he were quit of the despite that he hath done to me and my court. Then this Lanceor went to his hostelry to make himself ready, and in the meanwhile came Merlin unto the court of King Arthur, and there was told him the adventure of the sword and the death of the Lady of the Lake. Now I shall say to you, said Merlin, that this damsel that here standeth, that brought the sword unto your court, I shall tell you the cause of her coming. She is the falsest damsel that ever lived. Say not so, said they. She hath a brother, a passing good knight of prowess, and a full true man. And this damsel loved another knight that held her to paramour. And this good knight, her brother, met with the knight that held her to paramour, and slew him by force of his hands. When this false damsel understood this, she went to the Lady Lyle of Avalon, and besought her of her help to be avenged on her own brother. And there we have it. Not quite such an innocent damsel after all, for Merlin has come to the court with prior knowledge of this woman and the deal that she struck with the Lady of Avalon. All shall be revealed of this tale tomorrow night as Sir Lancelot, eager to avenge himself of the dishonour that he feels from having seen Balin withdraw the sword so easily, takes to his horse and chases down Balin.